What's up, Thuggies? Welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at every G.C.C clone trooper ever made. Check it out. Now these figures are only clone troopers, not any other G.C.C minifigures. These are all minifigures that you were able to buy at one point, with the one exception of the Covert Ops. So there's no like extremely rare one-of-one minifigures on here. Now let's get into that first minifigure. Alright Thuggies, so the first minifigure is the Skywalker Saga Shock Trooper. This was G.C.C's first minifigure ever made. And this minifigure is based off of the Shock Trooper from the Skywalker Saga, hence the name Skywalker Saga Shock Trooper. I actually really do like the legs on this minifigure. The torso does look a little weird. This is whenever G.C.C used the resin helmets rather than their own helmets. And here's a look on the back. And that's pretty much it for this minifigure. Next minifigure we'll be taking a look at is the Weathered Grunt. This was one of my first G.C.C figures that I ever got, and I'm very happy to have him in my collection as he's very desirable now. I actually really do like the battle damage on the helmet, and the torso and legs look pretty nice as well. It's a nice contrast in the clean version of these bodies. And here's a look at the back. And again, all these clones just have black heads, so I'm not going to bother removing the helmet every time. Next, we have the updated Shock Trooper. So this Shock Trooper actually is a big improvement of the last one. As you can see, it actually has red on the legs, the red belt on the torso, continuing on to the back. It still uses the same helmet that the last one did, but I think overall it's an improvement. It still has the resin helmet. And if you want to get really technical, there was a later version of that minifigure released. The only difference is the helmet. One of them has the resin helmet and the other one has a G.C.C injection molded helmet. So I don't know if you want to count this as two separate minifigures, but I just thought I'd mention that for the video. Next, we have the Kamino Guard. This minifigure was probably my least favorite from this drop. It's not really bad, I just think the other two are better. And he's pretty much exactly the same as the Shock Trooper except gray. And he also has that resin helmet. Not really much to say about him. However, there is another version of the minifigure with the G.C.C helmet. Again, I don't know if you want to count it as a separate minifigure, but I'm just going to mention it for the video. Next minifigure we have is Tukk. This actually wasn't made by G.C.C, however G.C.C did sell it, so I don't know whether or not to put it on this list. I just decided to include it anyway. It actually does have a different type of resin helmet. You could tell because it's actually more milkier than the last one, I feel like. However, overall, apart from the helmet, I do feel like it's a pretty good custom. And here's a look on the back. Now, here's Dogma. This minifigure I think I like a little more than Tukk, just because it has more detail. And I really do think that whenever they eventually remake the Dogma and Tukk, it'll pretty much look similar, just better. And here's a look on the back. And again, he also has that weird milky resin helmet. Next, we have the V1 Captain Rex. Now I have mine all decked out, so I'm just going to show you what he looked like whenever you just ordered him off the website. So here's the V1 Rex, and this was a really good minifigure, especially for its time. No one else was making Rex minifigures like this, and still I don't really think anyone is. He has those tallies on the helmet, and the weld marks, and the best part is, it is actually on an official Lego helmet. This was G.C.C's first minifigure using an official helmet. I really do like the legs on this minifigure, and here's a look on the back. Overall, this is a very good first Rex minifigure. Next minifigure, we're going to be taking a look at the Christmas Dogma. This was supposed to be like a limited edition minifigure for Christmas, and it's pretty much exactly the same as Dogma except Christmas. However, it is actually on an official helmet, so that's interesting. And here's a look on the back. It does look kind of cool with the green, however I just think it's kind of a weird minifigure. Next, we have the Tukk Unit. This minifigure is pretty interesting in my opinion, because it's actually not canon. However, this minifigure is also on an official helmet, so that's pretty cool. I really do like the cyan on this minifigure, and I think it looks really good. Here's a look on the back, and that gray belt is really nice. Next, we have Doom Trooper. I didn't really like him whenever he first came out, but it started to grow on me a little more. The brown belt on the gray torso looks really nice. And the yellow arrow also on the torso looks pretty nice. The legs are pretty interesting as well. Here's the look on the back. And then I'm pretty sure this trooper also uses the resin helmet. Yeah, this trooper also uses a resin helmet. As you can see, it's not G.C.C. However, there was a re-release that did use a G.C.C helmet. So again, I don't know if you want to count that as a separate minifigure. But if you do, there it is. But you honestly can't even really tell the difference with this one. Next, we have Captain Gray. This minifigure is actually pretty cool, although I didn't really know where he was from at the time because I haven't seen the Bad Batch yet. I have him decked out with the Cape Cantina pauldron. I'll show you what he looks like without it. So this is how he would have come if you were to just order him from G.C.C. I really do like the helmet on this minifigure. The legs are pretty nice too. Here's a look at the back. I gave mine a normal clone head, but normally he'd have a black head, and this one is on an official helmet. G.C.C has been killing it with the official helmets. Alright, next we're going to be taking a look at Hardcase. I feel like this might be one of their more detailed clone troopers. It looks really nice. At least the torso and helmet. The legs are just the normal clone legs. This minifigure once again is on an official helmet. I really do like the torso on this minifigure. I think it looks really good. And here's a look on the back. It's a very nice addition to the 501st Army. Next, we have Jessie. I like this figure a little less than the Hardcase, although I don't think it's really bad. This is actually a pretty good minifigure, and it looks really good with the rest of the 501st Troopers. This one, again, is on an official helmet. I know it's inaccurate, but I gave him a normal clone head. He just has the line going down his chest. I think the legs is where this minifigure shines. It actually does look pretty cool. And then from the back, he just looks like a normal clone trooper. Next, we have the re-release of the Shock Trooper. This time he has the dual molded legs. The thing about this figure though is that the dual molded legs actually aren't even dual molded, they're actually spray painted. G.C.C apparently spray painted them to make them look dual molded, and I honestly think they did a really good job. Apart from that, he's pretty much the same as the last minifigure. He does have the G.C.C helmet. If I'm not mistaken, this might have been one of their first figures to use this helmet. And here's a look on the back. Again, those dual molded legs look really good. And he did the same thing with the Kamino Guard. Here's an updated version of that guy. Again, the dual molded legs were really good, and unlike the Shock Trooper, they actually never made dual molded legs in this color. So the fact that G.C.C was able to accomplish that is really impressive. And again, he has the G.C.C helmet. They would have come with black heads. I just gave mine clone heads. Here's a look at the back, and that's pretty much it for this figure. Next, we have the Shadow Trooper. This minifigure is pretty cool. I remember not really liking him too much whenever he first came out, but he is honestly pretty cool. I believe he's from some comics. I'm not entirely sure if he's canon or not, but he basically just has the same design as a 212th Trooper, except he's a Shadow Trooper. Here's the printing on the back, and I think my favorite part is the helmet. And again, this is on the G.C.C helmet. And next up, we have the Weathered Rex. This is a personal favorite of mine. Again, I have him decked out with all the Cape Cantina stuff, so I'll show you what he looks like without it. So here is what he would look like if you were just to pull him straight out of the box. I think this one is actually pretty good. It does have some updated weld marks compared to the V1. My only critique is the visor looks a little weird, but the rest of the minifigure looks really awesome with the battle damage, and it looks really good right next to Commander Cody. And here's a look on the back. Alright, next up we have the Recon Trooper. This minifigure is pretty cool. It's nothing too special, but it's nice to have. The helmet looks pretty nice. I do feel like the torso might be a different red than the one in the legs and helmet, but it's not that big of a deal to me. Something I did actually notice is that the two lines that are supposed to go here and here they're just gone on this minifigure. For an example, just so you can see it visually, here's what the normal clone torso would look like. So hopefully they can make a V2 or just like a replacement torso eventually. But either way, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Still a pretty cool minifigure. And then from the back, he just looks like a normal clone. And I just realized the lines actually are present on the back, just not the front, so that is a little weird. Next, we have the Elite Squad. This guy technically isn't a clone, so I wasn't sure whether or not to put him on the list. But I feel like if I didn't, there'd be someone in the comments reminding me about him, so I figured I'd just do it anyway. Because he still technically has clone armor anyway. The green visor is pretty much where this guy stands out. The rest of the body is just a normal clone body, but in dark gray. Here's a look on the back. I kind of wish that they used black. I'm not sure if black would be more accurate or if the dark gray is fine, but I feel like either way, he's still pretty cool. Next up, we have our V2 Rex, the clean version. This I think is my personal favorite Rex. I just think they did such a good job with this minifigure. The difference on this minifigure is the weld marks being more thick on the torso and the helmet. And then I did notice that the legs actually have slightly more tallies on them. So it is just a different figure overall. Then here's a look on the back. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the V2 Rex. I also wasn't sure whether or not to count this one, but here's a look at the Covert Ops. This minifigure was a collab project between Whoppy Bricks and G.C.C, and it was sold only on Whatnot. So I'm not sure whether to count this one, but however, G.C.C did participate in the making of this figure. So I figured if I could count the Dogma and Tup, I'd count this one too. This one is actually on an official dark gray Lego helmet, which is really impressive because, to be honest, I can't find any, so I have no idea how they found them. Up close, the detail is pretty nice. A lot of people really wanted this minifigure whenever it came out, and I still see people looking for it today. Here's a look on the back. And yeah, overall, this minifigure has started to grow on me, and I think it looks pretty nice. Next, we have the Anaxes Trooper. This is the original Mace Windu Legion. This minifigure's helmet, I think, is where it shines. However, the whole minifigure itself looks really good. I really do like whenever clones have gray belts, and he does have the G.C.C helmet just like most of the clones from here on out. And a lot of people have been saying that the fin is like completely filled in with the pad printing, which looks really nice because you don't really see that a lot on other clones. The legs are pretty nice too. And here's a look on the back. Back is pretty nice as well. Next we have the Spotted Trooper. I'm pretty sure this guy's just based off a concept art. I'm not sure if he's canon or not. To be completely honest, this one might be my least favorite of the whole collection. I do think the idea of dark tan on a clone is pretty cool, but the dots just look kind of weird to me. And here's a look on the back. And that's pretty much it for this minifigure. Next we have a fan favorite. This is Commander Fox. A lot of people wanted this minifigure for the gunship that's coming out later this year, because it's most likely going to be better than Legos. It uses the Clone Army Customs visor with an official red Lego prototype helmet. And here's what it looks like without the visor. Here's a look on the back. And then this is the first minifigure to use the vinyl waist cape. And what I thought was interesting is that on the legs, it is printed red on the front of a white groin piece. So I thought that was kind of weird. I kind of wish they just used dual molded legs, but I can understand as to why they didn't. I also believe this was their first clone trooper to have arm printing, so that's pretty cool, and I think it looks really good as well. And next up, we're taking a look at the V3 Rex. I'm not going to bother taking off all the Cape Cantina stuff because the body is pretty much exactly the same as the last Rex we got. The only difference is the helmet, that he has those 2 bolts on it, which I honestly can't decide which I like more. I don't know if I like this one more or the V2 Rex more. I'm kind of leaning more towards the V2 Rex because I just wish the bolts were just circles. Then here's a look on the back, and yeah, that's pretty much it for this minifigure. Next, we have the 5th Fleet Security. This minifigure also looks pretty cool. I remember I had a decal version for the longest time, so it's kind of nice to finally have it printed. On the back, he just looks like a normal clone. I really do like all the blue details on the torso though. The helmet also looks pretty nice as well. And next, we have the Bomb Squad P2. This minifigure is pretty awesome in my opinion. It uses an official orange Lego helmet. My only critique is that the white is more circular than it is triangular, but I don't think it matters too much. The arm details do look really nice on this minifigure. Another thing I thought was kind of weird how it uses a white torso but orange legs. Kind of wish it was just all orange or all white, but either way I think it's fine. Overall, a pretty good minifigure. Next up, we have Arc Echo. This minifigure I also have decked out with Cape Cantina stuff, so let me show you what it looks like normally. So here's how the minifigure would look whenever you first get it, and I honestly think it looks really good. At first I didn't really like the torso, because I thought the arc armor was just too short, but it honestly looks fine in person. The legs look pretty nice too. And this arm printing, a lot of people I saw critiquing because it goes all the way up, which is something that Lego wouldn't really do, but I really don't think it matters too much. It looks good for the figure. And now here's a look on the back, and this is the first figure that we see that uses the G.C.C arc helmet, and I hope to see more because it does look really good. And our last minifigure of this collection, we got Arc 5s. This minifigure is really awesome. Just like the last one, it uses the G.C.C arc helmet. I don't know if it's just mine, but I noticed the helmets are a little loose, but overall, if it's just for display, I don't really care too much. Something I forgot to say in the last minifigure is that the pauldrons actually are printed, and the arm details are pretty nice. I'm not too sure if there's any difference between him and Echo. It looks like on this one there is. Again, I do feel like the arc armor goes a little bit too high up, but either way I think it's fine. The legs look pretty good in this minifigure as well, and here's a look on the back. And that concludes today's collection video. So here's all the clones lined up one more time, and I want to know in the comments which one is your favorite. I feel like my personal favorite might have to be the V2 Rex. One minifigure that I would love to see in the future would be the Arc Jesse. I feel like now that he's printing on the prototype helmets, if he just printed on a blue helmet, it would fit right in. And one last thing before I end the video. By the time you're seeing this, it should be 1 year since G.C.C first released the Skywalker Saga Shock Trooper, which was their first product, which means every figure that you see on this base plate has been made in the span of a year. Just let that sink in. G.C.C has really changed the custom industry for Legos in the span of 1 year, and I can't wait to see what this next year holds. Thanks for watching, and subscribe.